Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for watching the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a quick demonstration, quick tips and how-tos working on the 2016 to 2019 Nissan Titan XD with the Cummins engine in it. I changed out the water pump, the thermostat housing, the serpentine belt, as well as the clutch fan. I'm just going to point out a few quick things here. I got most of it put back together, but I'm going to kind of briefly go back and discuss a few things. I'm going to turn the camera just slightly here. Here we go. Alright, so you're going to see in here, got the new thermostat housing that's installed. I'm going to grab the old thermostat housing and kind of talk about why I needed to replace it. Alright, I'm back. So I'm on the sunny side of California. It happened to get pretty warm while traveling with the trailer. So my thermostat housing, this is more like an ABS style plastic here. This housing ended up warping under pressure, so it no longer has a flat, flush surface. So one of the reasons why, if you happen to be smelling coolant or having a leak, this could very well be the culprit. And I also went ahead and got the thermostat from Mitsumoto as well. So I decided I wanted to go ahead and upgrade that. But again, reason for replacing a thermostat housing is that the deck on this is slightly warped, causing me to have a leak. Now, a few tools that you're going to want to have when replacing the thermostat housing or even just changing the thermostat. So, one, you're going to want an extension. A few different sockets that you're going to need is you're going to want to get a 10 millimeter. I have a deep socket, 13 millimeter deep socket, and a 15 millimeter deep socket. So, three important sockets. Another thing that you're going to want to get is a torque wrench. So, the torque specs on the thermostat housing is 13 foot-pounds. So if you happen to have a torque wrench like mine, which equates to inch-pounds, it's going to be 156 inch-pounds for the two bolts that are on the thermostat housing. Now, my torque wrench goes up to 250 inch-pounds. This is made by Klein. This is the 57005 model. Absolutely love this thing. So I'm not endorsed by them or selling their services. This is just the tool that I have in my box that I'm using. Anyways, I'm going to bring you guys down here real quick. And this is kind of where I'm going to show you a couple quick tricks. Let me unlash this guy here. Alright, so a lot of people on the internet talk about how, in fact, to get to, let's see here, if I can get couple of these bolts. So you got one that's down there. I don't know how well you can see my finger here. There we go. Alright, so there's one bolt that's right there, and then there's another one that's behind the thermostat housing here. I can't really see here. Anyways, one of the tricks that I was going to show you guys for the easiest option when getting into that thermostat housing, and this is actually kind of more of a self-discovery here. Let's see if I can get my camera mounted back up. There we go. It's fighting with me. Jeez. Alright, you guys can yell at me later. Drop comments. Alright, here we go. So, don't do that. Alright, I'm back. Slippery fingers here. The 3/8 inch extension that I'm using. So this is a 15 millimeter socket. You guys are going to notice when we're working on the thermostat housing that there is going to be a bolt that has a nut halfway centered onto that thing that's molded. The best thing to do is put the 15 millimeter deep socket on first, on that nut. And then once that nut is completely on, I'm going to bring you back down so you can take a look. Alright, can you guys see that okay? Trying to work. Oh, there we go. Alright, so once the nut is on there, or I should say the socket, then put your extension down onto the socket. Now, I didn't have to remove any of the wiring harness at all. So as you can see, I put the extension on after I dropped the socket into place. So that is for the front nut on this thermostat housing. So, and I'm using the locking extensions. You guys don't have to use this. This is just a couple of the things that I have been using. But for me, it made it a lot easier just putting the socket on first before actually trying to work with it. And it comes out real easy. Now the back socket, you don't need to put the nut on. The back one is going to be your 10 millimeter. So let's see how well you guys, I don't know if you can see this or not. Can you kind of see that? Well, just to give you a general idea. So this extension here goes right around the manifold, and as you can see, there's a bolt access directly on top of that thermostat housing. So there was no need to actually remove the wiring harness. The only thing that requires detaching is this front power cord right there that sits on that secondary little top nut, which gets pressed down. That's the only thing that you might have to give a little bit of pulling on because it's snug right on there. And there's a nut that sits on top of that, which that's what the 13 millimeter socket's for. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this guy up now. Put you guys back in place. There we go. Now this uses the 13 millimeter socket. Oh, one other tool I would recommend using is a magnet. So a magnet works great for starting the nuts when you go to put them in place or thread them on. And it also prevents and helps without having to drop parts by accident. And also recover tools if in case you happen to drop them inside the engine bay. Get this guy started here. Perfect. And I'm just going to use my fingers to thread it down. All right, and again, all the torque bolt specs on this is 156 inch-pounds, 13 foot-pounds. I repeat, 156 inch-pounds or 13 foot-pounds. Do not over-tighten or over-torque this particular unit. I'm just going to wait for my click. There we go. All right. Another little quick trick. So, in the event you happen to replace your clutch fan assembly, I haven't seen any videos out here yet. So, my clutch fan, which some of you guys might out there have experienced it or living with it, this assembly is sticking, so causing that whooshing sound when you run the truck from cold temperatures. So my clutch fan was not disengaging, and my mileage was going down, and I was having all kinds of other symptoms of indicating this thing was going bad. So it might not have been the actual unit itself, but possibly the electronics that are in there. So I went ahead and replaced this guy. To get this thing changed out, you're going to want a 47 millimeter wrench Or you can go down to your hardware store and find a clutch fan tool. I did not have to purchase that tool because I have a 48 millimeter wrench, which works just fine, and it makes pretty good pry bar. Now, one thing I would recommend is you're going to want some kind of jig or some kind of a attachment device that you can hold onto the bell where your serpentine belt wraps around. So this essentially has 2 pins on either side. I happen to use it to lock onto the bell, and I used my 1/2 inch ratchet to hold it in place. To give you an idea, alright, let's see if I can zoom you guys in here. Reposition and bring you down. Taking some minor adjustments here. Just to get an idea what this thing looks like. Now, the nice thing is, this is not a reverse threading fan. So when changing this out, this just drops right around that housing of the fan itself. So as you can see here, and in this guy, there's notches on that bell, and when you see the notches, these 2 little pin tabs right here, I just drop one of them inside that hole, and I use the other one to push up against the nut, and with that you can either loosen it or tighten it. So again, this is a handy tool to have. Runs about 30 bucks. You'll find them at O'Reilly's. That's where I happen to get this particular guy. So this particular tool, it says it's a part number 43580. It says fan clutch spanner wrench for GM. Not necessarily for the Titan, but hey, it works for us if in case you happen to replace your clutch fan. All right, next on the list, I upgraded to the Mitsumoto radiator hoses. So there's the one there. The other one's already installed on the bottom here. So if we spin around, there you can see the other one. All right, now when doing a radiator flush on this guy, so the radiator happens to have a plug that you can turn counterclockwise to open the valve to release or drain your radiator. Now, it's not going to drain everything because it doesn't sit flush, but we spin around here. Let's see if I can get you guys a good angle. There it is. This guy right here. So this is on your passenger side of the vehicle. So if you turn that counterclockwise, it is going to slide out and it's going to open and start draining your radiator. So hence, I've already drained mine. But just for future reference, if you guys are working on this, that's where it's located. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, drop me a comment, hit a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.